Have you ever noticed that not every plant can grow alongside one another, no matter how good the soil is? Some plants compete for the same nutrients, and some release substances that stunt the growth of what's being planted nearby. And some simply just require different conditions to thrive. The point is that growth isn't just about planting more, it's about understanding what things belong together and what quietly prevents fruit from growing. But before we talk about harvest, fruit, or fulfillment, I want us to actually get into stewardship in this video. And I want to ask you, what have you actually done with the goals that you wrote down? Whether there's the goals from last year, the goals from the beginning of this year, what have you done with those goals? And I don't mean what you plan to do. I mean, what have you really followed through on? Because if we're honest, it's the end of January and something could have been kickstarted into action and or completed. And a lot of us, we write things down, we make vision boards, we pray about it, and then we just hope that it works out for itself. But that's not how it actually works. The word tells us write the vision, make it plain so that a reader can may run with it. And writing it down is just the beginning. Running with it takes planning, it takes intention, and it takes stewardship. And this is something that I myself had to learn. Anything that you don't steward will eventually drift. And I believe that that's like a natural law or something that if you don't but the point is that if you don't manage what God puts in your hands, confusion grows on its own. Distraction will grow on its own. Inconsistency will also grow on its own. And we love to say, well, what's for me is going to be for me. But that's not biblical. In the book of Matthew, in chapter 25, the servant didn't lose what he had because he was evil. He lost it because he didn't steward it. And sometimes promises get delayed through disobedience or not stewarding things well. For example, Israel wandered for 40 years. Moses never entered the promise. But you might be asking, okay, well, how does disobedience and vision correlate? The answer is everything. Because vision is not just a casual wish, it's a trust. It's something that God expects us to handle well. And I want to talk you through something that's actually helped me to slow down and get honest and stop overwhelming myself when it came to vision and discipline. And I call it the harvest framework. Now, this is for 2026, but it can work for any year after this. It's simple, it's practical, and it helps you steward what God has already given you without rushing, without striving, or trying to do everything all at once. So by the end of this video, I'll show you what needs to be removed, what needs to be refined, and what needs to be added. And you'll walk away with 3 clear priorities for this season. Not everything, just what matters right now. So I want you to grab your journal if you can. And honestly, I need you to send this to somebody who has so much potential, but keeps starting things and never finishing. And I call this the harvest principle. And here's the thing about harvest: harvesting is about gathering, but the harvest never comes first. There's always a process before the fruit. And whether you've been holding on to a vision for years or you're still waiting for clarity, this framework is for you and it will help you move forward one season at a time. Not all at once, not rushed, not pressured. So, step one, prepare the soil. Now, one thing that I've learned, sometimes the hard way, is that preparation always starts on the inside before anything changes on the outside. Before anything grows, the soil has to be ready. And preparing the soil means plowing or turning over things that have been sitting untouched, breaking up what's gotten hard, and making space for new things. Because if soil naturally is left on its own, alone, it doesn't stay neutral. It'll harden, weeds will grow, nutrients will disappear, and the life that we live works in the same way. So, preparing the soil would look like noticing patterns that keep repeating, reflecting on lessons from last season, and being honest about what's actually draining your energy, even if it's the people that you love. So, let's pause for a second. And I want you to write this down, or at least think about it. What patterns in my life need to be broken? What obstacles have I allowed to stay? And I do have a link in the description box that you can download if you didn't write those questions down. They'll be there for you. It's called the Harvest Framework. The next thing is structuring the soil. And preparing the soil also means that you're going to add structure. And this is where boundaries come in. This is where clarity comes in. This is also where you protect your own capacity and you ask yourself, who has access to me that doesn't align with who God is calling me to become? And who should I be building with? Then I want you to think about the nutrients that go into the soil. They keep the soil fresh and producing fruit. That would be any supplemental things that you might need to add to your life at this time. Like, do you need more education, any more mentorship, better tools? Because if the soil isn't healthy, seeds won't thrive. So I want you to write this down. What do I need to remove, refine, or add before I plant anything new? And I've also learned this, and this is important, that planting isn't about doing more, it's about doing what actually aligns. So once the soil is prepared and it's time to plant the seeds, that means choosing a few key initiatives and starting them with intention, because everything doesn't need to happen right now. And I keep emphasizing everything doesn't need to happen right now because a lot of us are blessed to have a lot of ideas and are very creative. And we want to do everything in one moment, but that is may not be the ideal season for that thing. There's seasons for a reason. In farming, some crops don't grow well together. They compete for the same nutrients. Some even harm each other. And the same thing happens in our lives. Not every goal belongs in the same season. Not everything should be run side by side. Structure protects growth. So I want you to think about what are the top three seeds or things or initiatives that you need to plant in this season. It may be something you need to pull from last season to continue to work on. And then you also need to ask yourself, what do I need to pause because it's actually competing for my energy rather than helping it? And if there's one thing that I hope that you take from this, it is that nothing stays healthy on autopilot. Even if you don't intentionally steward your life, something else will shape it for you. So I want you to slow down. I want you to choose obedience over urgency. I want you to choose stewardship over striving. And I want you to do this one season at a time. So if this framework has helped you understand your season with clarity and not with pressure, I'm glad, because growth was the goal. Growth with God has order, and fruit always comes in time. So, my name is Nicole O. Anthony, and I created Establish Her Beauty podcast that you're listening to now to help women grow rooted on the inside, where obedience is formed, identity is established, and lasting fruit begins. So I want to thank you for taking the time to slow down, to reflect, and to honor the process. And I will see you in the next episode.